Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, Bridging Regional Gaps via Interreg, so the path via Interreg to smarter region. It's a pleasure to have you all here. This is Breogan from BABLE Smart Cities, the accelerator of urban innovation and the largest knowledge hub of smart cities in Europe. Together with me, we have today Pedro Moreira. He's the head of Transport Authority and Mobility Management of the Municipality of Braga. And from BABLE as well, we have with me Naomi and Lawrence. They will accompany us on the getting into the interest of the detected calls that we are sharing for you today, and also to provide you some tips on how to successfully get on board European calls and build strong proposals. And not to forget, we have also with us Madalena Morin behind the screens, who is ensuring that all logistics goes smoothly. As a first comment, I will invite you all to write your questions on the chat so we could address them as soon as the webinar is ongoing. And also we'll have at the end a Q&A session, so it would be very good if we have already the questions there for a smooth answer on that. Without further ado, I welcome you to this webinar in which we're gonna talk about three main areas, which is how to assist eligible cities and regions and tech providers in navigating application process for the upcoming Interreg funds. You will see also to show you some calls and get inspired by some close case studies. Pedro Moreira is going to bring us a very recent case study of POCTEP. It's a call that is aiming at bridging regional gaps between Spain and Portugal with a new project called Soci Libre. And finally, we are happy to provide you some tips according to our experience for a successful project, how to build an idea, consortia, and basically to have all the necessary ingredients to success on the Interreg projects in general, but also European projects in particular. So, talking about Interreg, I would like to jump into a little bit of story before jumping into the present. Interreg is quite old already, so it's 35 years ago, has been launched by the European Commission under an initiative under the European Regional Development Funds. And this after the signature of the Single European Act in 1986. So you may see it's older than many of the assistants presented in this call today, which relies the strength on the upgoing experience, right? And I would like to have a little bit of track on this side, as Interreg has been evolving year by year or multi-yearly by multi-yearly with several innovation that has been integrated into the main context of the cross-border innovation, right? So in 1999, the Interreg jumped into transnational Interreg cooperation, interregional cooperation. That means that they are not only addressing cross-border relationship between 2 or 3 countries, but also expanding to much more macro-regional approach, such as the European Basin, or such as the Adriatic, or even the Danube. We are going to see some examples after that. It is from 2000 that strategic planning is also being implemented into the European Interreg calls, and also by the end of the year 2010, it has been also addressed some focus on sustainability, but also on innovation. A very important milestone has been in the Interreg the 5th edition and the 6th edition of the Interreg, in which the research, innovation, and outcomes are seeking also to be aligned with their sister, or probably big brother, I would say, program, which is the European 2020, Horizon Europe 2020, the other side, and also the Horizon Europe calls, by also aligning with some side initiatives, such as the Green Deal, the European Bauhaus, resilience programs as well. So what you have here at your right is a very graphical explanation on how the different cooperation between Interreg are made from. My colleague Lawrence is going to deep more into the detail on that, but Interreg is quite complex in itself. I mean, all the cooperation between countries and regions are divided in several layers. So getting into that is also, I mean, understanding how these layers are being approached is also a key of success on how to fit our idea in the best funding. What's Interreg? So it's the funding instrument of the European cohesion policy. It aims, as I said before, to reduce regional disparities between the regions, to address some challenges such as the climate change, digital transformation, innovation and mobility. The funding rates used to be less than Horizon Europe, and it typically ranged from 60 to 85. We're going to see some examples later on. But the good thing is that most of the calls allows co-funding. So whether or not you have a national, regional funding initiative that can fit into the idea, it is easy to be complemented, and again, depend on the specification of the calls. As I said before, aligned with EU policies since the 5th version. And another good point is that is widely open to eligible entities such as local and regional governments, public authorities and agencies, also universities and research institutions, NGOs and non-profit organizations, and also the private sector. I would like to jump into some stats about the ongoing call, which is the 2127, the 6th call. Up to now, up to 10 billion euros has been allocated across the 89 Interreg programs that we will see in the next slides. Up to nearly 1,800 projects has been approved already into the current period. Not to forget that the current period is still going on until 2.5 more years. And more than 6,000 institutions participating in the program has been benefit of the program. This creates a return of investment on the European fabric of innovation and research, which typically returns in a positive, a positive return on investment for the funding authority. This is also what is happening in Horizon 2020 until now. And yeah, Interreg is divided into the 3 main axes. So it's the Interreg A, B, and C, as was explaining before when was included in the year 1999. The A about cross-border cooperation, so direct intervention between 2 close countries that share a common border, such as POCTEFA between Spain and France, or POCTEP, or the Uberrhein that we are going to see in a couple of minutes. And also some other Interregs, such as the transnational cooperation, which covers a larger area, which has in common some geographical, social, or even economical casuistics. And also the interregional cooperation. This is there are 4 calls that covers a large amount of countries, which is the URBACT or Interreg Europe. There are 2 more. And in which all or almost all countries could be eligible to participate on it. All this information is always available, and the next slide, which is going to be presented by my dear colleague Lawrence, will include a link. This presentation is going to be shared with you, in which you can check at any moment which regions are eligible for which type of Interreg. So without further ado, Lawrence, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I am part of the team, the Iberia team at BABLE Smart Cities. And I'm just going to be covering the cross-border participation strand of Interreg, which is the most common strand and includes 64 programs. 49 of these programs are exclusively for EU member states, but the remaining 15 can also include non-EU regions which border the EU. So the primary focus of the cross-border participation is cooperation between regions located on or near borders. And as was previously mentioned, this is exclusively or explicitly focused on geographical regions. So it's focused on shared borders and with the idea that proximity will lead to stronger partnerships when identifying and tackling shared problems. So if you can see the animation, there are different clusters throughout the EU and in bordering areas. Usually these clusters involve 2 or 3 countries with specific regions highlighted within those countries. And so BABLE is currently working on monitoring and collecting information about the currently open calls which will be open in the future. And we work with cities to match relevant calls to that particular city. And we have a prioritization system, which is ranked out of 5 and takes into consideration the relevance of the call topic to the interests and strengths of the city, the deadline, and the percent of funding that would be received by the particular partner we're working with. And if you want to learn a bit more about the specific regions that are covered in the cross-border participation interregs, you can click the link below on this slide. Right. And so for the rest of the presentation, we're going to do a little bit of a tour around Europe. We're going to start with the Mediterranean in the Interreg Next Med project. We're going to go into the Interreg Alpen space, head over to the Atlantic area where we'll talk about POCTEP involving Ireland, and then we'll continue our way back to the Iberian Peninsula. Right, if you wouldn't mind. All right, so the first call that I'm going to cover is the Interreg Next Med. The second call is currently open as of December, or as of January of this year. And the end will be in April 15th. So the general focus of this particular call is on accelerating the green transition and specifically mitigating the consequences of climate change and coming up with solutions to shared problems that are sustainable and reduce carbon output and are more climate friendly. So more specifically, there are 9 specific objectives within this call, and each project will focus on one of the specific objectives. The 4 categories for these objectives are more competitive and smarter Mediterranean, greener and low carbon and resilient, climate resilient Mediterranean. And then there are also focuses on social aspects and inclusion and citizen participation in government and better cooperation in governance as well. So for suitable partners, as previously mentioned, this is one of the calls that involves both EU and non-EU regions. So, and in fact requires at least one non-EU partner. So each consortium needs to have at least 3 countries. One has to be an EU region and the other has to be a non-EU Mediterranean partner region. And there can be no more than 2 organizations from the same country. And then there also are further explicit restrictions and regulations for who can be a partner. But if you are interested, those specifics are outlined in the link to the call that's attached to this slide. And so if you want a general overview of the budget, The call itself is 83.7 million euros, but a specific chunk will be allocated depending on which specific objective the project chooses. And if you are interested, BABLE is actually putting together a consortium right now to work on the Interreg Next Med call. And you can send an expression of interest by clicking on the link attached to this slide as well. So we would love to hear if you're interested. And I will pass. Sorry, I will pass the mic off. Yep.
Thanks, Lawrence. Hi, everyone. Naomi here, Smart Cities expert at BABLE, and very happy to continue taking you through our tour. We are now headed into the Alps, and there's two programs here that I want to cover with you. The first one is Interreg Oberrhein, so the Upper Rhine area. So just glancing at our map here, you can see that this is really focused on the Franco-German and Swiss border, and the objective of this particular program is cross-border cooperation in the Upper Rhine area, so with a real focus on economic development, sustainability, also mobility, social cohesion, citizen participation. And we've got up to 125 million of financing for the 2021 to 2027 program, with 50 to 60% co-financing of the total investment dependent on the specific priority area. One thing I wanted to mention is that calls for this program are open on a rolling basis. So I do recommend, if you're interested, check the website and see specifically which project category you fall into, but the call is open for the funding period. So moving on now into the Alpine space, and this particular call is focused on Austria, parts of France, parts of Germany and Italy, also Liechtenstein, Slovenia, and Switzerland, and we're focusing here on cooperation and common challenges in the Alpine region. So biodiversity, conservation, climate change, sustainability, sustainable infrastructure, economic growth, and this particular call is also open in the same program instance, so from 2021 to 2027, with up to 75% co-financing of the total investment. Currently no open calls, but it's very likely that one is going to be announced later in the year. So I would recommend going onto the website, signing up for those call alerts, and there's very likely to be an announcement for that call within the next 6 months or so. Go ahead and move us on to the next slide. And we've continuing our tour. We're now headed into the Atlantic area. I believe we've also got some participants from Ireland today who may be interested in this. Starting off with Interreg Atlantic area, again, focusing on the Atlantic coasts of Portugal, Spain, France, Ireland. Focusing on protecting the environment, innovation, on marine life, on blue industries, strengthening territorial cohesion. We've got co-financing also up to 75% of the total investment, same program period as the previous Interregs, so 2021 to 2027. No current open call, but very likely to be an announcement later this year. So same as before, I do recommend that you navigate to the website and sign up for any call alerts. And the last opportunity that I wanted to highlight with you is Peace Plus. Some of you might already be familiar with it, but what's not often known is that Peace Plus actually is a part of Interreg. It's focused on Northern Ireland and the border counties of Ireland. So Peace Plus is all about peace and prosperity in the border region, cross-border cooperation, reconciliation, socioeconomic development. We have a large budget here, close to 1 billion, with 100% financing. So it's really a very good opportunity. There are current calls available for Peace Plus. There's 3 separate focuses open, focused on healthy communities, on sustainable infrastructure. I do recommend check the website to find out more. And the deadline for Peace Plus is also coming up relatively soon, within the next few months. So if you would like support with accelerating your application, please do get in contact with us.
Thank you, Naomi.
And over to you, Breo.
Thank you so much. So now going back to lower latitudes, we are jumping into the Iberian Peninsula and also the south of France, and we will explain a little bit how the two cross-border calls that we found interested, and according also to the timing and the funding, are being based. So we're talking about POCTEFA. POCTEFA is a very narrow intervention area that covers the north part of Spain, south part of France, and also Andorra. with a specific funding for each one of the countries, specifically Andorra, which acts as a sort of volunteering country, if I may say, and is divided in functional areas. In total, there are 4 functional areas regarding the thematic, which aims at enhancing economic and social integration, but also tourism, mobility of people, employment, transport of freight or logistics, and in overall sustainability. Even there are calls linked to education that brings also a strength on the shared regional languages we have between Spain and France that are contained into the POCTEFA. Now we have 2 open calls. One is going to end by the 22nd of April, which is a generic call, so a large-scale call, in which we have close to 77 million euros dedicated, and also small micro projects, which is also very interesting if you want to jump into the world of Interreg, that are going to be open until the 30th of May, with 4 million euro allocated, and both of them with up to 65% of co-financing. As said before, those calls allows, especially POCTEF and POCTEF, allows the co-finance by other sources, national, governmental, and regional, whether the topic and the intervention area fits with that. Jumping into the POCTEP, which refers to the Portugal and West Spain collaboration. We have right now 3 open calls. Well, one of them is ending tomorrow, so probably you will not have too much time to jump into that. But I will focus on the 7th call that is opening until the 24th of April, and also the 8th call that will open in April as well, but will end by the 10th of May. Right. So these calls are aiming to break some gaps between border region on the Europe, Spain and Portuguese area, focus on innovation, environmental sustainability, social inclusion, and also improvement of the governance, with an allocated budget of 33 million euro for the 7th call and 24 million euro. And it's a little bit more generous than the POCTEFA, since it can finance up to 75% of the total investment. But to deep more into the POCTEP, and also to have a clear example of what a Interreg POCTEP project will look like, we have with us the presence of Pedro Moreira, who is going to present us the success story of Braga, the Municipality of Braga, and explain how the project Soci Libre, in which they participate together with Lugo, is being defined. So, Pedro, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Well, I'm trying to... good morning. It's always a pleasure to collaborate with you, and it's always a pleasure to present Braga. So, Braga is a city in northern Portugal. It's a city of contrasts. We are a city where 2,000 years of heritage meets innovation, tradition meets creativity, and historical memory meets the youth energy. So we are the home of 200,000 inhabitants, making it one of Portugal's largest cities. We are a cultural and economic powerhouse in the region, driving business, tourism, and innovation. And we have obviously a strong commitment with sustainability and mobility. And we actively invest in green infrastructure, smart urban solutions, and so on. But even if we are making a lot of efforts in sustainable mobility and logistics, we have a lot of challenges that remain. We still have. We have, as any other city, limited space. Our city, historic layout and compact streets require smart planning to accommodate modern urban mobility needs. We have, as any other city, I believe, some urban logistic pressure. The rise of e-commerce and delivery service increased the congestion, requiring some more efficient, low-emission solutions to maintain the city sustainable. And we also have some issues with the freight transition. So we need a shift to a smaller electric and shared freight vehicles that is essential for our, as you can see in this picture that I'm showing, to be used in our pedestrian area. We have one of the biggest pedestrian areas in Portugal. Basically, all our city center is pedestrian, so we need to work on this transition for a smaller electric and shared vehicles, freight vehicles. So, next slide, regarding Socilibre. Socilibre is, as a project, a transformative cross-border initiative. We were able to demonstrate how cities can work together to create a sustainable urban logistics. We brought together municipalities, business, social institutions, and even research centers like Universidade do Minho to develop some models for low emission delivery. And with that, we want to also support social inclusion. And what is this project? This project is a partnership between Braga and Lugo in Spain that engages storekeepers, logistic companies, and social research institutions such as Associação Empresarial de Braga, APLOG, Cruz Roja, Braga Habit, Universidade do Minho, Minho University, as I said before. This project aims to decarbonize less life deliveries with alternative transport modes and to implement logistic hubs in the city. It has a strong social component, a very important social component, providing job opportunities for refugees, employed individuals, or long-term unemployed individuals, or even other vulnerable groups. We are still studying this kind of vulnerable groups to be included. So this is not just a logistic project. This is an example how sustainability, social inclusion, and this cross-border cooperation can drive urban innovation. And how it works. Our success in Socilibre is based in three key pillars: integration of new logistic models, engagement with stakeholders, and support for vulnerable users. Regarding the integration of new logistic models, we combine different transport modes, like using cargo bikes, electric vans, and optimized delivery routes to reduce emissions and to improve efficiency of logistics. This must ensure that last mile deliveries are faster, cleaner, and better suited for our urban environment, our old city urban environment, our pedestrian area urban environment. Regarding stakeholder engagement, obviously, as in any other project, this success depends on collaboration between city authorities, the business, and all the other stakeholders in the city. The support for vulnerable users. We, in this project, provide job training programs for refugees, for long-term unemployed individuals, and we help them to enter the urban logistics sector. We are also partnering with NGOs and social enterprises to be sure that these individuals receive the necessary support to transition into the workforce. Is something that we need to be sure that is not only about the development of the project, but after the project, we support this transition. So this is not just about logistics, it's about creating a fairer, a greener, and more resilient urban mobility ecosystem. Next slide. So, regarding this application process, we had the brilliant support of BABLE on it. It is not an easy process, but is quite rich. So, we identify common challenges and partners. So, we defined a cross-border issue that requires some joint action, like talking about sustainable logistics, the mobility integration, the social inclusion. And we built this partnership with other municipality, in this case, Lugo, and we invited universities, business, and the NGOs that we thought were more available and more related with this. We defined a strong proposal, a very strong proposal, in my opinion. So with clear objectives, the expected outcomes, the impact that this project would have, like in CO2 reduction, in the number of employment, how to improve the number of the reduction of inefficiency on logistics deliveries, and so on. We aligned it with POCTEP priorities, obviously, relating it with sustainability and the cooperation goals to secure this funding. And obviously, we start to work very early to plan and to engage stakeholders to increase the chances of success. So this project is and was this project and this network, this program is a powerful tool for every city to look to develop and scale innovative solutions through this cross-border cooperation, because there are a lot of common challenges that can be issued with these projects. Some benefits for Braga to participate in these projects. So we were able, as they were explaining before, to access to funding for innovation and sustainability projects. And one of the biggest advantages of Interreg POCTEP is the financial support. It provides for financial support for these cross-border projects. This enables cities to experiment, to test, to implement new solutions that probably otherwise would be difficult to finance. For example, Braga, with Sociolibre, is funding the development of a low-emission urban logistic model that otherwise would be very difficult to fund. It's very important, the knowledge exchange and the best practice from other cities also. So it's not just about money, it's about learning from other cities that face similar challenges. This program creates a network of cities, organizations that can share expertise, that can share case studies, and that can share also lessons learned from previous projects. And obviously, together we can adapt proven solutions instead of starting from scratch. That is always a problem. Third, the international cooperation and the fortified regional cooperation. These relationships are very important. So even for economic collaboration to joint sustainability efforts, because these relationships don't end with these projects. They create lasting partnerships that continue to drive innovation in the future. Fourth, I think it's very important, the long-term impact on local policies and also infrastructure. These programs, these projects help cities to shape our own long-term urban mobility strategies. For Braga, for instance, it was possible to redefine our last mile logistic model, to study the expansion of cycling infrastructure, or even influence national and EU level policies, consolidating our role in the European mobility ecosystem. These projects don't provide short-term solutions. I think this is quite important to highlight. They lay the foundation for a long-term urban transformation. And how do we maximize these opportunities? We have some experience in EU projects to implement real-world solutions. So we try to make the most of the available funding and collaboration opportunities. We usually pilot and scale solutions through projects like Socialib or even other funding opportunities like Interreg or Nimble. Because it's not always Interreg or POCTEP, we also have the experience on other programs for funding. And rather than treating these projects as isolated experiments, we integrate them into our long-term strategy, and that's very important. We, with that, have some data-driven decision because these projects and the insights of these projects help us to refine our mobility policies and infrastructure investment. For example, a previous project like pacification, it was about cycling data, informed us about bike lane expansion. We expand the bike lane with the information from this project, or Socialib, that help us to optimize the delivery routes and to reduce emissions. Collaboration with stakeholders, so as I said, is very important. The multi-stakeholder approach fosters a long-term adoption and policy integration. So if we use strategically these EU projects, analyzing real-world data and collaborate with key stakeholders, we can maximize the impact of these funding opportunities. Now, and if you allow me, just some recommendations for other cities and organizations. So implement EU funding projects requires more than just funding. It demands strong partnerships, a long-term vision, and data-driven decision-making. So based in our experience, there are 4 key recommendations for other cities and organizations. So start with strong partnerships. The successful projects depend on collaboration between municipalities, business, researchers, communities, and all the stakeholders you can think about. And identify some shared challenges and align the priorities early in the year and in the project concept. So search also for existing networks. This is very important. Learn from other EU-funded initiatives. We are talking about Interreg, but goes to Civitas, EIT Urban, Mobility, Horizon, and so on. And avoid to reinvent the wheel. Adapt the best practice from other cities. Third, ensure long-term commitment is very important. Many projects end when funding stops. So avoid this, embed solutions into city policies and infrastructure for lasting impact of them. And fourth, use data for advocacy and investment. Real-time mobility data helps to demonstrate the success of initiatives and attract further funding. We usually use project data to shape our policy and to justify new investments. I think that cities should see EU project as a tool for long-term transformation, not just funding opportunities. And by adopting these strategies, I believe that municipalities can ensure sustainable, impactful, and scalable solutions for urban mobility. So thank you so much.
Thanks to you, Pedro. It's always a pleasure to listen how Braga is going so much step forwards on the urban innovation, and also very aligned with your thoughts that the EU funding does not stop when the funding stops, but it's a roadmap on which the initiative, the ideas, the mission of the city should go on. The next slides are going to be about some tips and guidance on how to participate in Interreg Europe. And I'm happy that already Pedro gave us some interested ones, such as the belonging to clusters or building a good partnership, because these are key of success when we want to build a good idea to fit into a good proposal. So what to consider before starting a project? A project is beyond a project, it's an opportunity to learn and share, to connect, to be innovative, to follow strategies, to collaborate with partners, as you also said very well, Pedro, and to form and create an organizational profile. So we need to go beyond business as usual activities. We need to be beyond the state of the art and use the advantage of these research and development projects to strengthen our urban fabric of innovation, right? So as I say, the EU project should not be the ultimate goal, but a part of a roadmap that cities could already be developing and strengthening with the support of European projects as well. It's important also that to start always with the idea and not with the funding, since many unsuccessful projects tends to find first the funding and then develop the idea to fit into the funding in very short time. But this is not the goal, and the results are not used to be as positive as doing the opposite, which is defining the concept, defining what the city needs, an idea of a pilot, and then place it into a suitable funding. So, according to this, for Interreg programs, there is, as my colleague Lauren says, several Interreg calls, in total 89, and each one of the calls has specific topics, specific objectives or priorities that could be addressed. So we are talking about climate and sustainability. There are a lot of calls going on in climate adaptation, for example, innovation and digitalization, transport and mobility as well, but also governance and institutional cooperation, and also, as the example I shared on the POCTEFA, this cultural and social inclusion as well. I want to jump a little bit on the results from our Knowledge Hub, in which we gather more than 700 case studies from cities, regions, and companies all across Europe that tell us that for these three main points I explained at the beginning, mobility, energy, and governance, some trends and initiatives are going on connected mobility, the rise and active of micromobility, but also active mobility, the digitalization as a layer for sustainable mobility as well, the holistic integration on positive energy districts, and also the decentralization of the energy operators and creation of energy communities as well, the integration of generative artificial intelligence on this field, and for the governance to help increasing the regulatory harmonization and capacity building, the co-creation activities, and also the data-driven governance and monitoring. The third tip would be to anticipate. So first, we generate the idea, we define the project, we define the suitable consortium, we develop the proposal, and always take into account, we either win or improve and win. The good point when we go through a proposal is that we learn while doing this. And when we submit it, we receive a feedback. This feedback helps us on improving for the next time. So it's important to not to think on an unsuccessful proposal, but rather an opportunity to enhance it. The evaluation criteria will gather some insights that probably was not clear before on which trends the European innovation fabric is actually going on, that we could fit our proposal into that. And finally, think big. So a European innovation project can also help us to escalate the potential of our organization. So to venture with a small project is good, to bring an experienced partner with us, to build a system and consolidate our capacity as well, and looking forward to expand the knowledge, to start learning, leading projects or even work packages, to expand the networks and influence of the city and the region, and in a certain point, the city and the region could be even able to run multiple projects, to have a dedicated team allocated to that, with the support in the early stages from a funding office or a support partner, for sure, and to keep plugging and keep learning while being inserted in a virtuous circle of enhancement, not only for the city and the region, but also for its position over the European-wide innovation arena. Just to summarize, 3 ingredients that made your Interreg application be successful: a good idea, a good partnership, and the perfect funding match. And about funding match, I wanted to also share with you this tool that BABLE has been developing for a couple of years already. Is the funding matcher, in which we are gathering up to 20,000, after I saw it yesterday, calls on the local, regional, but also national and macro-regional level, that applies to all European countries and also associated countries with different fields of activity and fields of funding. This is the tool that we use for ourselves, but also to support our network of cities and regions looking for suitable funding. And without further ado, I will give the word to my colleague Naomi, that will explain us a little bit which could be the next steps that we propose to you on successfully submitting a project.
Thanks, Breo. Hi, everyone. Again, happy to give you a quick overview of our services. So at this point, you've heard a lot about Interreg. You've heard about the great example from Pedro. And for some of you, I'm sure, are wondering, what are the next steps? We're interested. We want to find out more. What should we do? BABLE offers a tier-based EU funding service. We have various levels with various service. Contact us, and we're very happy to help match you to the best service. And I'll go ahead now and cover what each of these tiers exactly means. So the very first funding tier, or the very first tier, is the EU roadmap. So what happens here is that BABLE brings you into an interactive workshop with our funding experts and also a team from your city or your organization. And we'll talk about what are your strengths, your opportunities, really where is that funding gap. And the outcome of all of this is that you've got a roadmap to innovation report in which BABLE will present you with some very structured guidelines, a tailored list of sources, and some key partnerships, and also what are some specific funding opportunities for you. Another great thing about this particular tier is that you're on our map, you're on our radar, and we're able to continue sharing opportunities with you. The second tier takes this one step further, and what we're doing here is really supporting you throughout the entire development of a complete application. That means developing the project concept, developing that pilot. Somebody earlier had asked the question in the chat about consortia building. As we do know, of course, so many of these opportunities, Interreg, of course, in particular, is very strong on building a consortium from multiple countries, from multiple areas, and this is definitely something that we can support you with our very large network of stakeholders and actors throughout the continent. So the end product here is a full-scale EU project application, and BABLE will support you at all steps of this. The last service I wanted to highlight here is called the EU Projects Office, and this takes it one step further. What we're doing here is, on the one hand, supporting you with applying to a range of opportunities, but we're also helping to build your capacity within your team so that you can also create a devoted EU Projects Office. The beauty of this particular approach is that you get a kind of a subscription model where you get continued support, continued monitoring of calls, you'll get status reports, you'll get any kinds of templates or other other documents of information that you need to prepare for calls. As we all know, of course, what this enables you is to take really a very proactive approach to go ahead and identifying those calls and providing you with the right kinds of timeline and advance notice to make sure that we can support you in developing a full application. And lastly, I wanted to present everybody with our contact information. So if you've got any questions on any of the information that you've seen today, if you're interested in going ahead and joining or finding out more about our services and which is the best fit for you, please absolutely don't hesitate to go ahead and contact us. And I'll hand it back over now to Breo for some closing remarks.
Thank you so much. So, yeah, as Naomi said, we are completely available for you to express us our individual concerns and also doubts or questions on how to go on and build a strength collaboration with us.